Welcome to Muckle's Read and Lead audio podcast, the place where we unreveal the mysteries behind power, politics, and prosperity. Today, we dive into episode 5 of Why Nation Fail, a section that hit close to home. We often hear stories of economic growth and development, but why do so many nations still struggle? Why do some societies get stuck in endless poverty and dictatorship while others move forward? In this episode, we explore how history, power, and institutions create cycles of failure. And by the end, we will answer the big questions: is there a way out? Chapter 9: Reversing Development, How Colonizations Destroy Progress. Imagine a land rich in resources, full of thriving communities with their own systems of trade, governance, and justice. Now picture those institutions being ripped apart by colonizations. That's exactly what happened in Africa and Latin America. Before European colonization, societies like the Ashanti Kingdom in Africa and the Inca Empire in Latin America had functioning economies and administrative systems. When European powers arrived, they didn't build upon these institutions. Instead, they replaced them with extractive systems designed only to exploit people and resources. Forced labor, taxation, and land seizure became the norm. Inclusive institutions collapsed, and power shifted to small elites who controlled everything. Even after independence, these extractive systems remained trapping nations in a cycle of inequality and weak governance. Colonization did not just steal wealth, it stole the future of these nations, and the impact still lingers today. Chapter 10: The Iron Law of Oligarchy, Why Elites Never Give Up Power. Power is addictive. History proves that when a small elites gain control, they will do everything to keep it. This is the iron law of oligarchy, a phenomenon we see in dictatorships, corrupt democracies, and even corporate monopolies. Take Argentina in the early 1900s, one of the richest nations at the time. But a small elite controlled land and resources, blocking reform that could help the broader population. Political instability arises when elites feel threatened. Look at Egypt's Arab Spring. Protests led to temporary change, but the military quickly reasserted control. The cycle continues. People demand fairness, elites resist, and often the result is more instability instead of progress. The lessons: institutions don't just change overnight. The fight for inclusion is always met with resistance. Chapter 11: The Great Leap Forward, China's Economic Growth, Exception or Illusion. China's rise is one of the most fascinating stories of modern history. In just a few decades, it transformed from a struggling economy to a global superpower. But here's the question: is China's growth an exception to the rule or just a temporary success? China still operates under an extractive political system where the Communist Party controls everything. Unlike traditional extractive institutions, China allows some economic freedom, leading to massive industrialization and innovation. But without political inclusion, can this growth last? History suggests that extractive institutions eventually collapse under their own weight. The real test for China is not its skyscrapers or exports, it's whether it can create institutions that allow long term sustainable progress. Chapter 12, The Vicious Circle, Why Poverty and Dictatorship Go Hand in Hand. Why do some nations seem stuck in endless suffering? Why do leaders who promise progress end up creating more chaos? The answer lies in the vicious circle, a cycle where poverty fuels dictatorship and dictatorships fuels poverty. Congo is the perfect example. After Belgian rule ended, corrupt leaders took over, using the same extractive system the colonizer had left behind. Every new ruler, whether Mobutu Sese Seko or later Joseph Kabila, exploited resources, crushed opposition, and left citizens powerless. Without inclusive institutions, poverty deepens, people lose hope, and dictatorships became harder to break. Unless a nation escapes this cycle, progress is impossible. But is there a way out? Now we talk about chapter 13, Why Nation Failed Today, the Global Inequality Trap. We live in a world of immense wealth and technological advancement, yet millions of people still suffer under failing states. Why? Look at countries like Somalia, Venezuela, and North Korea. Their institutions are built on control and exploitation, not opportunity. Extractive institutions are not just a problem of the past, they continue to shape global inequality today, from rigged elections to corrupt economic systems. The challenge is not just fixing economies, it's about breaking the deeper structures of power that keep people trapped. So, is there hope? Yes, but change requires more than protest or election. It requires a complete transformation of institution. Conclusion. So, what have we learned? Nations don't fail because of bad luck or geography. They fail because of the institutions that control power and opportunity. But history also shows that change is possible. Nations like South Korea, Botswana, and even the United States have faced extractive institutions but found ways to create inclusivity over time. The future is not set in stone, it's written by those who are willing to challenge the systems that hold them back. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Muckles Read and Lead audio podcast. If you enjoyed this journey, stay tuned for the next episode where we discuss the final section of why nations fail, how nations can break free. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and keep asking the big questions. Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and keep leading.